Alrighty, well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Andrew Doffney, and I'm the Instruction and Outreach Librarian at the New Jersey State Library. And it is my pleasure to present our speaker today, Melanie Hasem from the Division of Consumer Affairs. She joined the Division of Consumer Affairs in January of 2016 and is the Outreach Director for the division. She is responsible for implementing the division's missions and goals to protect New Jersey's residents from becoming victims of consumer fraud. She speaks to thousands of people across the state yearly as the main speaker for outreach events, educating all types of groups, including seniors, non-English speaking peoples, and other populations that can find themselves a target of scam artists. She also directs the New Jersey High School Consumer Bowl and works with her team to educate students across the state about consumer issues and scams they may face in their future in the fun game show setting. Most recently, Melanie participated in a 6-week course with the FBI's Newark Citizen Academy, which invites local community notables to get a peek behind the curtain of the United States principal law enforcement agency on domestic intelligence and security. So welcome, Melanie. Thank you so much for joining us today and talking about scams and frauds. And, with the holiday season, there are so many of them now available. Natural disasters, COVID, all of that, which we'll get into, but we appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today. We will be taking your questions at the end of Melanie's presentation, but please feel free to submit them at any time using the Q&A or the chat button in the Zoom dashboard. Melanie has provided me with a handout with some links that she'll be referencing today, so I will make sure that that gets uploaded into the chat so that you have that. If you do have any issues downloading it from the chat, don't worry, it'll be available in a follow-up email to download. We ask that if you have time, please complete the survey at the end of the webinar. We always appreciate the feedback that you give us, and it does help us as we develop our programming here at the library. And if you want some more information on scams and frauds, you can, the AARP has put together a fantastic page that you can visit, and I will send that out in the chat so that you have a live link of that. And then one last thing before we get underway is I just want to do a brief overview of the Zoom dashboard. This is what your dashboard should look like if you're using a PC or a Mac. If you're using a mobile device, the dashboard may look a little bit different, but all the features will still be there. In the bottom left-hand corner, you can see your audio settings. So if you are listening using an external listening device, such as a headset or earbuds, you can make sure that they're connected properly there. At any point during the presentation, if you run into any issues, there is a raise hand button here in the middle. You can click on that. That'll alert me. I will send you a message in Zoom and hopefully be able to resolve any problems that you are having. And as I mentioned before, if you do have any questions, please feel free to use the Q&A or the chat buttons, send it over to us, and we'll be happy to address them. So that is everything that I have for you. So it's my pleasure to turn it over to Melanie now.
Great, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me just set myself up here. Okay, great. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Andrew, so much for inviting me on to speak to your group today. So as you heard, my name is Melanie Hasem, and I am the Outreach Director for the New Jersey Division of Consumer Affairs. It's also such a pleasure to work with another state group. So thank you again for the invitation to speak with the State Library Group today. I have sent along some great links, as Andrew mentioned, that you guys will be able to access. As well as, Andrew, I didn't mention this, if you'd like to share my contact information with the group, that's completely fine. Perhaps there'll be some questions that maybe you don't want to share in the round, and I'd be happy to speak to you offline and give you any help and direction that I can. So I'll start out by giving a little overview, a tiny overview of what the division does in our work. We do quite a bit, we do quite a lot, but our topic is a little more specific today, so I will get to that. But very quickly, the Division of Consumer Affairs, we are one of approximately, I want to say 16 divisions under the Office of the Attorney General. So the Attorney General oversees basically everything in the state. He is our Chief Law Enforcement Officer. Some of the other divisions I know you've heard of, if you may not have heard of Consumer Affairs, which is very, very popular. The State Police is one of the divisions. Of course, Highway and Traffic Safety. We have gaming, right, and licensing for our Atlantic City and horse racing fans. Great. I see Andrew shared my information. Thank you. So every part of really our state government here is overseen by one of the divisions at the Attorney General's office. And what we do is we are here to protect consumers in the marketplace. So we want to make sure that when you go out and you spend your hard-earned money in any retail location here in the state of New Jersey, you are getting exactly what you're paying for. So quick example, one of the parts of our office is the Office of Weights and Measures. And they are a group of investigators that are basically tasked with traveling across the state and making sure that any of our weighing or measuring devices that are used during the course of a purchase of any kind of business are regulated, are legitimate, are working, right, perfectly. So very important for us when we pull up to the gas station and we say our New Jersey line 20 regular. Well, who's making sure that that gas pump is in fact distributing $20 worth of fuel that is Weights and Measures? They also make sure that you're getting the correct octane. So if you've got a sports car and you need super, they're the ones that are making sure that everything is being distributed accurately. Something else that is a part of our everyday lives, I'm sure yours as well, is the grocery store. So they are overseeing the scales at the deli counter. So when you roll up in your shopping cart and you want to get a pound of potato salad for your party this weekend, well, who is making sure that that scale is accurate and you're not being charged for the container it is in? You're not being overcharged even 1 cent over what the price is listed. That's, again, Weights and Measures. And you'll be able to tell next time you are out and about when you see a weighing device, a measuring device, something like that, a tanning bed, right? I noticed that recently. You will see a blue and white sticker that clearly says Weights and Measures and that we've been there either this year or last. And that says that the machine is absolutely accurate. Doesn't seem like a big deal to be overcharged a penny or 2 pennies for a pound of potato salad, for example. However, we've got to think of it this way. How many folks live in the state of New Jersey, right? So if every single one of those people were charged an extra penny, that's a lot of money. So we're here basically to make sure that when you go out and you make any sort of purchase, you've got those protections. And the protections are what we call our Consumer Fraud Act. All right, it's a huge, thick book, about that thick. It's got all the consumer laws here in the state of New Jersey, and there's laws on anything you could think of, probably. Pet sales, mortuaries, and the sales that they do with funeral homes, all sorts of things. We have actually a list on our website, and you can check all of those out. Another big part of what we do is that we do professional licensing and registration. So I'm sure there's got to be some folks on this call here that have a professional license to practice their field of work in the state of New Jersey, and that comes from my office. So anybody from accountants to acupuncturists to family therapy to physical therapy to marriage counseling to nail salons, hairdressers, plumbers, roofers, right? So all those blue collar folks, we call those our home improvement contractors. Basically everyone that you would hire, quote unquote. You don't think you would hire a doctor, but you do, right? You do hire them to work for you. They are all, most of them should be licensed and registered. So you can check out that list on our website. And what we want our consumers to know is that that's where you should go before you begin any sort of work with any of these folks. Check them out on our website. You can look them up. It's a very easy portion on the website right on the homepage, and it says look up and verify. So it'll ask you to input either the owner's name or the name of the company, and we can tell you whether their license is in good standing, and if there's been any complaints on file for them within the last 2 years. We keep those. We can't give you the complaint, the nature of the complaint online, but you can always call us if you want further information for further clarification on what exactly the complaints were. While we are not in place to endorse any companies or businesses, again, what we can tell you is, are they doing business by the letter of the law as they should here in the state of New Jersey? Okay, we feel like that is the first step in being that smart consumer and working with folks that are doing business as they should. The last thing we want to hear is that you got a knock on your door and someone says, hey, I've been doing a roof down the street. I've got some extra stuff in the back. I see you've got a problem on your roof. I can give you a great deal. Okay. money talks, and they're going to probably give you a great number, but we don't know what sort of what kind of services you're going to receive. Lots of times these folks are really just rogue contractors, right? And they can come and they take your money, they give you big promises, and they disappear in the night. Okay, so we want to avoid that. We want you folks to know that we are a clearinghouse for where you can start before you get any sort of work done or anything like that. And unfortunately, the number one complaint that comes into our offices is that of home improvement contractors. So it's a blessing to own a home, but it is also a lot of hurdles you may have to cross, and we hope to be able to offer you the information to make the best, wisest, informed decision as a consumer. So that's a great part of our website as well. So kind of leading into this morning's topic of scams and frauds. If I become a victim of a scam, and I have, as I said, that story, right? That roofer came to my home and he offered me, a great deal. And I gave him, I wrote him a check for $2,400 and he disappeared and I never see him again. That's where we can help as far as becoming a victim of a scam. Okay. That's a different kind of situation where there is a company, there's a brick and mortar establishment, there's a paper trail, right? We can find this person, we can knock on their door, we can say, make it right with the consumer. We start out with a notice of violation, and basically it's a slap on the wrist, and it says, we see what you did, we're watching you, make it right, return the money, finish the job, whatever is decided. There's several steps after that, but ultimately what we can do at the division is we can pull a professional license if there's been some sort of misconduct. Unfortunately, if anybody listens to the news, there's a story every so often of a doctor, a medical professional that's been charged with misconduct, and we pull that person's license. We find them and we pull their license so they can no longer legally practice in the state of New Jersey. But again, that goes back to the first piece of information that I shared with you, because if you're not aware that you shouldn't check on these professionals, you wouldn't know whether they're legally practicing or not at all. So it's sort of cyclical, but in that sense, that's how the division would be able to help you if you became a victim of a scam or a fraud. Okay, today's topic is a little different, so we're going to switch gears. Today's topic is basically addressing those scams that are coming to every single one of you, I'm sure, on this call. And those scams are coming to us through the telephone, number one. Big jump in text messaging scams is also happening. And email scams is a big thing. And of course, the other regular scams, as I said, where you're going to have a random person knock on your door and offer you a great deal. These scams are a little different in the sense that many times, unfortunately, when you do become a victim of such a scam, whether it's something over the phone or an email scam, lots of times when your money is taken, it's gone. And there's very little that any agency, whether that's up to the state police or anything like that, very little that we can do, because these folks are, as you may know, many of them aren't even located here in the United States, for one. And for two, these folks are professional liars, professional actors. They're very good at their craft, and they use the gift of technology to be able to disappear into the shadows. Okay, and they're very good at what they do, unfortunately. We often discuss what a better state this world would be in if perhaps these scam artists decided to focus their energies and their intelligence on good things instead of negative. But here we are. I call those guys the good guys, the bad guys, and we are the good guys. So what I want to share with you folks today are a bunch of takeaways. I want to give you more of a general overview of what the scams are, how they're designed, how they sound, how they make us react. Because once we can figure that out and understand that, that will be our toolbox to keep ourselves safer. I saw Andrew shared the AARP link, great organization. We work very closely with them throughout the year for all sorts of events. And they've got a really great section on their website concerning scam and fraud. So you can definitely check them out. And they have a lot of in-depth information, even more in-depth, because they take more of a psychological stance on how scams are designed And so they even have a former scam artist that flipped and now is there educating the public on how scams work, how the scam artists work, so we know better and we do better. So definitely check that out if this is of interest to you, and I'm glad it is. I'm glad we've got 16 folks on the call today. What I've found over the last, it'll be 8 years in January. What I found over the last 8 years, working with the division, unfortunately, is that many people, they really aren't interested in the topic of scams and frauds until it is much too late. So the odds are that everyone on this call, either you have been a victim of a scam or you know and love someone that has been a victim of a scam. And the unfortunate part of what I just mentioned is that people don't become interested until it's too late, until they've already been victimized or they already know someone that's been victimized. So for those of us that are on here today, I want to really thank you and applaud you for taking a proactive approach to scams, because that is exactly what we need to do in order to protect ourselves. Okay. So this is what we're doing today. Like I said, educating ourselves. I could not tell you every scam under the sun. We'd be here for the next 5 hours. And then as soon as I would be done, it'd be, brand new ones on the horizon. As Andrew mentioned, they take all sorts of shapes and forms depending on what's happening around the globe and in our world. Of course, we have to remember these crazy times we've just come out of, our quarantine and our COVID times. And when that all came out, there was scams through the roof. Okay, anything you could think of, it was turned into a scam, whether that was magical cures or there was something else. Oh, one of the crazier ones was that at one point FEMA was giving out grants for folks that lost loved ones due to the pandemic. And if you had buried a loved one, they were providing grants to help you pay for that, that service, the services. Well, scam artists became aware of this. While it was a real program, the scam artists took it and ran with it, and they started cold calling folks all over the United States and saying, we're FEMA, and we've got a program that we're giving out to survivors, or however the verbiage was. And they said, we're going to give you a grant because you had lost a loved one and you had to bury a loved one. So remember, this is a real program. Okay, this is what scam artists do a lot. They take reputable companies and reputable programs and convince people that they are them. Ultimately, these people ended up stealing a lot of people's banking information, because they said, we'll send you this grant, just send us your bank account information. And think about it. Some of those folks that were aware that FEMA was doing a program, they might have gone and done their research and they said, oh, wow, this is legitimate. So let me, share my information. And of course, it all was not. And that was a huge scam. And anytime there is a flood, a fire, an earthquake, anything like that, the pleas for donations come out of the woodwork. But we have to remember, a lot of these also come from scam artists. So it's important to understand that we've got to really do our research. We have a lot of sayings at the division, and one of the best ones I like is verify, verify, verify. All right. Don't believe the first thing you hear. Run it past a trusted friend or family member or loved one. And we just want, what I hope is that when we hang up the call today, I want everyone to be a bigger skeptic than they were when they logged on this morning, because that skepticism is what's going to keep us safe. Okay. So to begin our overview, every scam that will cross your path will fall under one of two categories. Okay. Just about every scam I can think of, as I discussed, and I've done this, like I said, for over the years, every scam is going to fall under one of two categories. The first category will be our fear-based scams. So fear-based scams, just as they sound, their great motivation is fear. So some of the most popular ones would include the IRS scam. Okay, so if you've gotten an IRS phone call, usually it's a person that says you owe a bunch of money to the IRS and you need to pay them before the end of the business day, or the sheriff will be at your door, or any kind of form of that kind of story. You're in trouble, and the way to fix it is to send money. Okay, and you've got to send it right away. All right. So again, talk about the psychology there. We are good people. We are law-abiding citizens. Who wants to be in trouble? So we are presented with the idea that we're in trouble with one of the largest, entities, on the globe. As someone we'd never want to be in trouble with is the IRS, and they call us and they tell us this. Some of the red flags there are, as I mentioned, you've got until the close of business today to pay that money, right? Well, if you are ever presented with any sort of scenario and you are given a tiny window, all right, that is a red flag, because any reputable business dealing transaction, it all can be spaced out and thought and done thoughtfully. Okay. What they want to do is put the crunch on you. You have to act now. All right. That's a huge, huge red flag. Always keep that in mind. Another thing, as I said, they're going to call you. They're going to say that the police are coming for you. Okay. So I work with a lot of former police officers and things of that nature. They come to work at the division because of the investigative nature of the work that we do. So it's a normal fit. So I'm fortunate to work alongside a lot of these folks. And they always remind me to remind you is that if the police were actually coming for you, if a law enforcement agency was actually after you for some very important reason, you wouldn't get a warning, right? You wouldn't be told, I'll be there in 10 minutes, put your shoes on. And in the heat of that moment, when the emotions are high, which is exactly the scenario they want to build, your rational thought goes out the window. Okay. And this is why folks of all walks of life, all levels of education, all economic levels, no matter who you are able to become a victim, because these scams are designed around our humanity, our heartstrings, our emotions. And when love overcomes reason, right, or concern or care overcomes reason, that's when these scam artists can take it and run. So this is what we want to stop. I always like these lectures because it gives us an opportunity to discuss these kinds of topics in a low stress environment, right? Because if you're getting a phone call and the tea kettle's going off and the doorbell's ringing and the dog's barking and yada, yada, and you've got, busy lives, don't we all? And you answer the phone and someone's telling you you're in trouble, you're going to say, wait a second, what's going on? I need to figure this out right now. All right. And that's the kind of scenario they want to build. Okay. Another fear-based scam, very, very popular, is called the grandparent scam. Okay. So perhaps some of us have gotten that phone call and it sounds like this. If I am the scam artist and I'm calling a random person on the phone and a female voice answers, I'm going to say, Grandma, it's me. And if I call another number and a gentleman answers, I'm going to say, Grandpa, it's me. And what I'm hoping for as the scam artist is that you do what all of us do much too often and we don't think about, is we share too much information. So, Grandma, it's me. The first thing I want Grandma to say is, Jenny, is that you? Right? Debbie, is that you? And then there we go. So now I'm a scam artist and I know you have a granddaughter that you love very much because that's the first one that came to mind. And you're going to say, yes, Grandma, it's me. It's Debbie. Debbie's story will be that something like she was with a group of friends and they were in a vehicle. There was a car accident. The police came and they found drugs in the vehicle. And now she's in super big trouble. And please, whatever can you do? Can you send me some money to bail me out? And whatever you do, please don't tell mom and dad. Perfect, right? Wrapped up with a perfect little bow. So you don't verify like I asked you to earlier. You are simply going on adrenaline. You're concerned, you're thinking your loved one is in trouble, and you want to do anything you can to help them. There's several iterations of that scheme. I've even heard an adult child receiving a phone call about their parent. There was an accident. I'm sitting here with your grandfather. My cousin's in the car with me, and he's about to take a gun out, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, anything you could think of to get people to think that a loved one is in danger, and what they can do to fix the problem is send money. Okay. Some other things that I fortunately don't know firsthand but you can't bail someone out over the phone by sending money. That's number one. It's not how things work. The person on the phone in the heat of that moment may very well sound like your grandchild, but I'm telling you that's not them. Also, which is a whole other new ball of wax that we haven't even started to really get into, is artificial intelligence, and how, again, the gift and the curse of technology is allowing these scam artists to steal voices, basically, and call you and make you think you're talking to someone who you are not. Another thing that they'll say is, or they'll get off the phone really quickly. They'll say, why don't you talk to my lawyer or talk to the police officer, and immediately get off the phone. So while your brain is still trying to process that your loved one is in serious trouble, now you're already off the phone. You're talking to someone that says they're the police officer, and they're going to sound very official. They're going to sound like they know what they're talking about, and they are going to just continue to loop you in. Okay. So easy ways to burst that bubble, right? But these are the things that we need to think about. We need to remember to practice the pause. Don't immediately go into any situation that is presented to you. Come down, try to bring your rational thought down. What they say on the AARP website is the scams are designed to get you into the ether, which means your, again, rational thought is going out the window and you're just running on emotion. And you're just thinking, I'm going to do whatever I can to save myself or save my loved one. Okay, so those are the fear-based scams. Lots and lots and lots of the scams will fall into that category. Okay, even something like when you get that big, bright, red, glaring pop-up on your screen that says, warning, you've got a virus or whatever it is. Look at that, right? It's big, bold, scary letters. It's blinking on your screen. It says, oh my gosh, there's a problem. Call, this number and we'll solve it for you. That's a huge scam, because there is not some large entity up in the sky looking over all of our computers that decide that there's a problem with yours, Andrew. So I'm going to jump on and say, there's a problem, call me here. Okay. That's just not the way it works. And they're going to tell you, whatever you do, don't shut off your computer. Guess what? That's exactly what you should do. Okay. They're going to try to get you in all kinds of ways to get you nervous, get you scared, alarm you, and again, get you on the phone and suck you in. Okay. They're going to start saying, well, I can fix your computer for $200. And let's say you send $200. Well, they're scam artists. So how are you going to trust that anything will work? More than likely, they're going to say, okay, we're going to need another $1,100, and so on and so on. So these are the sort of scams, remember, fear-based scams, where love overcomes rational thought. This is exactly how these are designed. Okay. And I want to say one more thing about keeping yourself safe. And as I said, really practicing the pause and things like that. One other thing I'd love to ask everyone on this call today, whether you can change your attitudes and habits today, and also share with another person, share with a friend, family member, a loved one, a sibling, a neighbor, anybody. My number one rule is, I tell folks, if you want to stop scams, if you want to be proactive and protect yourself by at least 50%, let's say, off the bat, is starting with your cell phone. So from this day forward, I used to make people do a pledge for me. From this day forward, if you want to keep yourself that much safer, I'm going to ask you, stop answering unknown numbers. Bottom line. These scam calls are happening all day long, every day. I don't know how many you probably got this morning. I get them all the time. I get them to my state issued cell phone from the Attorney General's office, so nobody is safe. And I tell my folks, let's stop answering the phone. Okay. Answering the phone is a habit that we've all had since we're little. It wasn't a dangerous thing when I was growing up, because it was always a friend or a family member that was calling. But unfortunately, now these scam artists' biggest tool is technology, and they use phone. Okay, so you're going to see phone numbers that are coming in. They're going to look similar to yours. They may have your same area code number, your same first 3 digits exchange. And the last 4 digits will probably be something different. Or I was so excited when it finally happened to me because I was able to share this. I wonder if anyone in here has ever gotten a phone call from their very own phone number. Okay, it happens. And this is all by design. Okay, the numbers looking similar to yours or even exactly mirroring yours, those are made so your curiosity is so high that you can't press ignore or you can't let the phone ring or you can't skip it. You say, oh, that's weird. That's a familiar looking number. Or how weird. How am I getting a phone call from my very own number? And that curiosity is what gets you to pick up the phone. So don't fall for it. Again, it is by design. Another thing, all these numbers that are coming in, I don't know if anyone's ever tried to call them back, but they go nowhere. They're called spoof numbers, really. So it's a phony number that does pop up, whether it's on your cell phone or even on your caller ID. And really, the number goes nowhere if you ever try to call them back. Okay. Again, talking about how technology is a blessing and a curse. Okay. And they're using this exactly to get to their means. All right. So, number one thing, stop picking up the phone. If it's important, people leave messages. Sometimes the scam artists also leave messages, so it's important that we have the rest of this talk about that kind of stuff. Excuse me. But it's a better way to screen your calls. And also, think about family members or friends in our lives that maybe don't have a lot of other family around them. We may call them shut-ins. They don't have a lot of support. These folks are particularly vulnerable because they may pick up the phone and they may strike up a friendship with the con artist on the other end. And I've heard stories like this before. So think about those folks and share this information with them also. Talk to your telephone carriers. Ask them what sort of services they offer. Okay. Again, they're part of the good guys. As hard as they work, to start to try to identify scam phone calls and put up, firewalls or whatever they are called to stop these phone calls from coming in. Guess what? Scam artists on the other side have just as many brains and muscle, unfortunately, on their side, and they're trying to figure out how to break down those walls. So we really do have to, a lot of this work does lie on us, right? It does lie on us to protect ourselves because if we don't, these scam artists will just continue to run wild. There's some telephone carriers who give you an option that a phone call won't even come through unless that number is saved in your contacts. Okay, so these are some safeties that are probably a lot better for, as I said, those other folks that possibly are shut-ins, are more senior folk. Unfortunately, we're human beings, and as we age, our faculties deteriorate. Right. And so we may not have that sharpness or that reasoning that we once had. And that's exactly what they want. They want after those people, especially. Our information is everywhere, as you know. You have my first and last name here. If you look me up, Google, whatever it is, you can tell me where I'm sitting right now. You can tell me the address of my home. You can tell me where I went to college, the names of my siblings, names of my parents, where I grew up. Okay, it's all out there. All right. Unfortunately, there's very little we can do about that. But what we can do, like we're doing today, is understanding what that exposes us to, and therefore how we can keep ourselves safe. Okay. So that's a big thing with the telephones. Really, really, really try to do that. People say, can you just stop the phone calls? Unfortunately, folks, the short answer is no. What do you do when it's raining outside? You have to come inside and shut the windows. Same idea with the phones. Just stop giving them access to you. Stop picking up the phone. If I do have to pick up the phone, I do one of two things. I either pick up the phone, I bring it to my ear, and I stay silent. I say nothing. And it happened just before we got on this call. And in a couple of seconds, the phone call dropped, right? I guess they think no one's there. They're not going to waste their resources. They hang up, they go to the next number. Or I pick up the phone because I have to often for work. We're a state agency, so I travel all over the state. So I get all sorts of different phone numbers coming into my phone. And I simply say, who's speaking? Right? I say, who's speaking until they identify themselves. Because another big thing is they want you to say the word yes. They want you to say the word yes, because then they can take that snippet of your voice, and add it onto the end of anything you can think of. Even possibly more than I can even imagine. Magazine subscriptions, vitamin subscriptions, back brace, neck brace, whatever it is that week that they're calling about. And that's how they get you. So that's a really, 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 really important part. If you take nothing else from today, remember that the woman from Consumer Affairs says, don't answer unknown phone numbers. So again, let's go back to our category. So we discussed fear-based. Our second category is our excitement-based scams. So all too often, I've heard so many people fall for these, and it's a shame. And it goes back to our humanity, right? Like I said, we have love for our family. We have love for ourselves. We don't want ourselves to be in trouble. So this one is another side of our human nature, is that we all want to be winners. And I don't say that lightly, because look at how the state lottery grows every few weeks, 300 million, whatever the numbers are, right? Because everyone has a dollar and a dream, classic phrase. And so these people know that, these scam artists know that, and that's a big, big, big tool that they use to get to us, to get to either our money or our personal information, which I'll get more into depth with that later. So our excitement-based scams sound like this. For me, what happens is every time I happen to leave the local CVS, somehow I receive a text message that says, congratulations, you've won a $500 CVS gift card. Or you get a phone call, congratulations, you've won a cruise, a Disney cruise, a Disney vacation, a minivan, whatever it is, a lottery, right? Whatever it is you could think of, all right? These are our excitement-based scams. They serve in the same way the fear-based scams serve, in that they are presenting you with a situation where your rational thought goes out the window, okay? And you're going to say anything or do anything to claim this prize. That's what they want from you. It's unfortunate over the years how many folks I've heard that fall for these sorts of things. Some more popular ones even have come in the mail. I had a girlfriend of mine several weeks ago now. She said that she received a letter in the mail. It looked very official, and it was a very official looking check, right? And the check says that it is a Whole Foods issued check, and they are contacting people who are interested in becoming secret shoppers. And you are welcome to take this check and deposit the check, except they made the check for too high of an amount. So if you could just return the $200 to them, that $600 is yours to keep. And what they want you to do with that $600 is they want you to go to your local Whole Foods, and they want you to do some shopping, and they want you to tell us what time of day you shopped and give us the name of the person who checked you out, and if you spoke to anyone in the store, and how was the cleanliness, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And fortunately, she called me because she knows what I do for a living. And I told her what I'm going to tell all of you folks. Now, this is a saying that we've all heard since we're little, but unfortunately, we forget it. And I feel it bears repeating, and you cannot hear it enough. Please, another one to take with you, especially when we're talking about scams and frauds. Please remember this, folks. Bottom line, if it's too good to be true, it is. And unfortunately, so many people forget that little piece. Like I said, in the heat of that moment, they forget that, and they fall for these scams. One of my favorite stories is, and it was a popular one for many years. I don't believe it's going around too much anymore, but it's the Canadian lottery scam. So one of the gentlemen I was addressing at one of my events years ago came up to me after I spoke, and he said, "Oh, I got the Canadian lottery scam, phone call." I said, "What happened?" He said, "Well, I got a phone call. I picked it up." So step one, I said, remember, we're not picking up the phone anymore. So he picked up the phone, and a very well-spoken, lovely, friendly, excited gentleman on the other end told him, "Congratulations, you've won $80,000 in the Canadian lottery." Proceeded to send him pictures of money in a vault, right? To say, "This is real. Look at this money. It's right here next to me." And it was, like I said, very excited, very professional, very polite, very kind, very warm. And the gentleman said, "Okay, well, what do I have to do to claim my prize?" The scam artist said, "Very easy. All you need to do is send me $1,400 to release the funds through customs and pay some taxes, and I will I'll gladly send the money to you right away." So I said, "Oh gosh, this is how it works. Okay." So I said, "So what did you do?" He said, "I thought about it." Right. So I love when he said that. That's where I learned to tell you folks, practice the pause. Take a moment before you agree to anything, before you share any information, before you start sharing bank account information or sending any sort of money. Okay. He said, I paused and I thought about it, and I got back on the phone with the guy, the scam artist, and I said, how about this? How about you take the $1,400 out of my $80,000 winnings, and you could send me the difference, and I'll just be waiting for the check, right, with the missing $1,400. So of course, with that, the scam was over, right? That day, that scam artist was outsmarted that one time. All right. So fortunately, that was a happy ending for this gentleman. But if we think about the grand scheme of things, really, what happened next? What happened next was that scam artist hung up the phone, and he picked up the phone and called the next person. Okay. This is how they operate. Okay. They cast a wide net. Again, the blessing and the curse of technology is that now, instead of folks sending out, years ago, it was the Nigerian prince scam, and you actually would get a letter in the mail, and it was a typed out letter, and it said, this prince has funds that he wants to funnel into the United States, and if you would please be a safe shelter for him, as soon as he gets here, he would gladly share his riches with you. All you need to do is send your banking information. Okay. Back then, you had to print out letters. You had to put them in envelopes. You had to pay for stamps. You had to do all these things. Today, with one finger, right? I push one button on my computer, I can send an email that says that same story to, gosh, I don't know, millions of people in a matter of seconds. Okay, so this is kind of where we're going to. We're really growing with technology being that blessing and that curse. I refer to it so often because it's true. One of my dreams is to travel the world. Of course, I'm sure it's dreams of many of us. I want to see the Taj Mahal one day, right? I don't have to leave my living room. I can see the Taj Mahal every morning if I want. Just sign on to a website. The curse of that is these scam artists are using technology. And when they're sitting in their kitchens in Moscow, they can be right in our homes, lying to us, deceiving us, and getting us to hand over our money because they're professionals at it. They're professional actors, they're professional liars. All right, so we really want to remember that. The excitement-based scams. Always verify, always double check, and never believe anyone first off the bat. Okay. Another thing, here's another one. As I said, they cast a wide net. So I'm going to refer to an email I received just yesterday. Okay, so these are a very, very popular email we receive on our DCA, DCA outreach website. So the gentleman says, to whom it may concern, McAfee Corporation said I purchased a subscription of one of their products. I've never bought any of their products. This is the third time I've got an email from them. I am 74 years old. I believe someone from their company is trying to scam me for $718.18. I have hypertension and I don't have the time for this. Okay. Common, very common. So what I explained to this gentleman was, first of all, that email, I'm going to say 99% is not from McAfee. Okay. They're going to take a reputable company or a reputable entity, like I said, IRS, whoever it may be, and they're going to say, you owe us money. Okay. So this gentleman doesn't understand why he's getting these emails. There's really no rhyme or reason. Okay. These folks are going to go up to bat 1,000 times a day, and that's being modest. And they hope to hit it out of the park once. Okay. So people say, well, how did they know I had an Apple computer? Or how did they know I had a Dell computer? Or how did they know I was a Chase Bank customer? Or how did they know I was a Bank of America customer? They don't. They have no clue. Okay. Everyone is receiving the same emails. It's just about who bites. Okay. So the idea is think twice. Okay. Practice that pause. Verify. Okay. When you get an email like that, or you get a text message, or you get a phone call, right? And they're going to say, you need to call us back at this number. Absolutely do not contact them back at the number they provided you. All right. This is when it's your turn. As I said, it lies on us. It's time for us to be the investigator. So go to your back of your debit card or your billing statement or somewhere where you can find that number for 110% certainty. That's the company that you're trying to reach. Call them directly. You initiate the contact. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to say that was absolutely not us. Do not give out any information. Okay. That's another big safety precaution is if you are ever called really don't trust anyone, right? Aside from the fact that we said we're going to stop answering the phone, sometimes we do. But the only time you should feel comfortable, the only time I want you folks to feel comfortable sharing, disclosing any sort of personal, private, protected information, which is, of course, we all know our birthdays, social security numbers, bank account numbers, PIN numbers, mother's maiden name, all these identifying pieces that we have up here or we have written down in a safe place. And we do need to disclose when we are doing business with reputable companies, right? That's what they're after. So the only time you should feel comfortable sharing any of this information is when you are creating the contact. Okay, when you are the one that's picking up the phone. Don't ever believe a phone call coming in. Okay, only when you have done you are making the phone call, you've done the research, and you know what company you're talking to. All right, only when you've opened the lines of communication should you feel comfortable sharing the information. So, for example, I was going to go on a trip, and I called my bank. I'm a Bank of America customer. And the woman said, I said, I'm going to be in South Carolina for 2 weeks. If you see charges, please know they're mine. So, you know, they don't freeze my card or what have you. And the young woman said, okay, that's fine. Thank you for calling us. I just need to confirm your identity. Please give me your mother's maiden name. And I gave it to her because I initiated the contact. I was for certain I was speaking to a representative at Bank of America. And so, as I said, because of the information we sometimes have to disclose when we're doing reputable business, I felt comfortable sharing that information with her. All right. So those are when I want you to feel very, very safe about doing that. And no other time, none at all. Definitely don't do it otherwise. I was asked, how can we tell if something is a scam? Okay, so pretty simple. So aside whether it's going to be a fear-based scam or it's going to be the excitement-based scam, or perhaps there's another, scam category out there, what you want to remember is this. If it is a scam, they are always going to be after one of two things. They're going to either be after your money, obviously, or your personal information, as I just mentioned. I call it our personal, private, protected information. They're always going to be after one of those things. With your personal information, they can do all sorts of things. They can identity theft, right? It's the number one growing crime, really. They can steal your identity. They can open up accounts under your name. They can do anything you could think of, and probably past what you could think of, because we don't have those scam artist mindsets. Or of course, they're always going to want money, right? So one of two things, if not both. But they'll always be after money. Okay. And a quick note I want to make about money. Something that has grown, pardon me, something that's grown like 200% in the last 5 years is scamming people with gift cards. Okay. So note to self, if you are ever doing any sort of business, and they are asking for you to pay them, and they will only accept payment in the form of a gift card, stop, red flag, walk away. Okay. The reason is simple, is because a gift card is like cash. So if I pay you with a gift card and I have a problem and I want my money back, or I want to dispute this, guess what? It's gone. As soon as I buy that gift card and read you the numbers off the back of that card, the money is siphoned off of that card so quickly. And these scam artists have these webs, really, where the money will bounce from one account to another, to another, to another, until it's untraceable, undetectable, and gone. And as I mentioned earlier, lots of times when you become a victim of a scam of this sort, when your money's gone, your money's gone. Larger agencies, larger than the Division of Consumer Affairs. So let's say our parent agency, will say that is the Federal Trade Commission, or higher than them would be the FBI. They will only investigate claims of these sort of scams once we reach a specific threshold, an amount of money. Okay, so unfortunately, I had a friend that was scammed from $800 was taken from him off of a Facebook scam. Okay, somebody stole a friend's pictures, and they said, I have this great opportunity for these things. Why don't you send us $800 and we'll get the ball rolling for you? His $800 was taken and it was gone because it just didn't hit the threshold for the investigation to get it there. So again, The work lies on us, folks. Okay, we have to be smart. We have to be educated. That's why, as I said, I love that we've got folks on the call here today. We have to take a proactive approach to protect ourselves from scams and frauds, because a reactive approach, it's too late. Okay, it wouldn't happen to us the next time, but the education that we're sharing today, it will help us so we don't become victims first off the bat. One other part of the AARP website, and I really want to encourage you folks, if this topic interests you as much as it interests me, obviously it's what I do for a living, so I'm fascinated by it. There is a podcast that you can find on the AARP website, which I got very into over quarantine time. I was listening to a lot of podcasts and things like that, and it's called The Perfect Scam. And every excuse me, every episode is a true to life story of a person that's become a victim of a scam. And it's so important to hear it because, as I said, they are people like you and I, right? Like there's no picture I could draw of the average scam victim because they come from all walks of life. And this is a way for you to hear true to life accounts of how regular people, smart, intelligent, normal, right? For normal is the quote unquote word, people become victims, because we inside we are all human and we all tick in a lot of the most similar ways, and these scam artists have understood that, and this is what they use to get us. Okay, so I'm going to close for questions. I did warn you I could talk about this for hours. I will wrap up. I'm happy to stay for questions as long as there are any. Excuse me. Or I also mentioned earlier, if you want to get me offline, I'm happy to chat with you and help you in any way I can. And thank you for your attention this afternoon. I hope you walked away with some new knowledge. And if not, I'm very glad that you are aware of everything that we've already discussed, because that means you're one step ahead and you're able to protect yourselves and see these scams for what they are. So what we say at the division is, please take advantage of us. Take advantage of the services that we offer before someone takes advantage of you. All right, so I'm happy to turn it over to questions.
All right, thank you so much, Melanie. If anybody does have questions, please feel free to send them using the Q&A or the chat button, and we'll be happy to answer them. Do you monitor Medicare scams as well?
Medicare scams is an entirely huge whole other section of one of the divisions at the Attorney General's office. And I want to say that falls under the Office of the Insurance Fraud Prosecutor. Unfortunately, Medicare and all those medical scams, they are through the roof. So not specifically consumer affairs, but definitely part of our offices. Yes.
Um, is there a way to identify all the accounts I have created using my email address in order to unsubscribe or delete accounts that I created in the past but no longer use?
Mhm. Well, at least I want you, but um,
Looks like your feed is cut out a little bit,
I
Melanie.
know. Are you there?
Yeah, yeah, we're here.
Okay, we'll see how much further we can go. It looks like okay.
Okay.
Uh, what I do, and like I said, I'm not Andrew, you're probably much more technical in this sense, and you might be able to even offer something. But for example, when I go through my emails, fortunately now it gives me an option. So literally, I'm one by subscribing to a lot of these emails. Um, Otherwise, similar but different to your question. A thing that you might want to check out, a little bit different, but not to endorse any company, just sharing what I use. And on Credit Karma, it's a service that will list all of your ever credit accounts, fees, and so you keep an eye on them. And that's another. Like I said to this gentleman that wrote me the email about MacB, it is. I said the number always do no matter monitor. Only you know those accounts look like what those balances should.
Hmm. All right, hopefully. Oh, she's gonna try and reconnect. Um, So just give her a moment to see if she comes back. But yeah, unfortunately, there's not a to answer that question. As far as I know, there's not a like a database of everything you ever subscribed to that lists all the accounts. Generally, you would have to individually um, unsubscribe from all of that. Hi, Melanie. Let's
I'm so
see.
sorry. Anyone here anyone left here?
Yes, yes, yes. So much better.
All I mentioned was Credit Karma. That's a nice, easy way, one-stop shopping to keep an eye on all of your accounts. The question was a little bit different, but I did want to throw that out there because I very helpful. And a service you can check it out.
All right. Let's try. Um, what was the threshold amount in order to open a case or investigation? You mentioned $800 was too low, but I'm curious what the amount is.
I'm apologize. I don't know what the actual threshold is. It's nothing that I mean it now there's even a entry. This was an office building in India found that it's like an 8-story building full of scams, and eventually the complaint came through so much that that's when the government stepped in, right? American government stepped in. Don't figure for you. I'm sorry, I should have gotten that beforehand. But just what I just is if we become a victim of a more call, they're gonna made me buy a $500 gift card or something like that. Something like that is really not gonna launch an investigation of sorts. What will happen? You can serve your department and make a complaint. Obviously, contact your. But again, like that, the eyes on us to protect ourselves from something.
All right. And maybe we'll end with this because there is a little bit of a connection problem, and then I'll ask that anybody contact Melanie directly for more information. Sometimes I concern that the email gives me an option to unsubscribe is a scam as well. Can clicking unsubscribe make me a victim?
It's a wonderful question. And unfortunately, in the world, no way that this is
Back.
sorry. Is it possible? Unfortunately, folks, anything is possible. It really is. Some companies are reputable, some emails are reputable, some emails will come in and they look completely real and they're completely phony. So it's just really about staying on your toes. I couldn't say for sure whether they're scams. I mean, I like that line of questioning because that's the skeptic in us. And so we should always keep that. I know I use those unsubscribe features. So far I've been lucky, but we never know when that's going to go a different way. Like people say, well, how can I know that, Target is so secure? Or how do I know that Home Depot is so secure? And the fact is they're secure up until the minute that they're not, up until they have a breach, up until they have some sort of security break-in, right? So it's just about staying aware, staying sharp, keeping our eyes on, as I said, our accounts and things of that sort.
So, somebody just shared, I get 2 to 3 calls per week from political PACs. They say they're from various charities, vets, breast cancer, etc. They all say that they support candidates for our cause. When I ask which candidates, they usually hang up. So I have found 2 articles that say this is a scam and no money is going to support any cause. I think the call is a recording and not a real person, maybe a bot.
Awful. One thing I will say about that, first of all, across the state, it is known that police departments will not call and solicit for donations. So if you're ever getting a phone call that says anything of the sort, you can hang up. If you want to give, of course, these are awesome organizations, police, fire, things of that sort. I tell people write the check and go down to the station and give directly if you really want to. These other charity calls and things like that, they can call and they can call and say they're anyone. What we do have at the division is our charities registration section. So you can always call and confirm if you do want to donate. What I like to tell these folks is send me something in writing, send me something in the mail, and then I go from there. I can always double confirm. And it's really just about doing your research and figuring out who you want to donate to and if are they legitimate. So the phone calls, I would never give that information over the phone. I would say I donate privately, or I already donated, or send me something in the mail. But always, again, I like that's that skeptical viewpoint on those phone calls.
Alrighty, I don't see any other questions, so is there anything you would like to close with, Melanie?
I just, like I said, I want to say that it's really welcome to have folks be proactive about this. And there's so much information out there. We have to stay on top of it and keep one step ahead of these folks because they're working very hard too. So just remember that. And again, what I always like to tell folks is please, if you've learned anything of value today, please share with your loved ones, because that's what's going to keep us safe. The problem is when we become a victim of a scam, it comes with a lot of shame. And so we don't share. For example, if we become a victim of a scam. So this is an idea where we want to say that victim, or you're not a victim, you're a survivor. And what you can do with that is help others, tell other people so they too don't get sucked into these.
All right, thank you so much, Melanie, for presenting today, and thank you everybody for attending. Hopefully you take this message as we get into the high gear of the holiday season and stay better protected. So everybody be safe, be well, and enjoy the holidays.
Thank you very much, everybody.